We're starting in Sentinels now. We'll be starting with Logistician, Istj. Practical and fact-minded individuals whose reliability cannot be doubted. Introduction. I'd be more frightened by not using whatever abilities I'd been given. I'd be more frightened by procrastination and laziness. Denzel Washington. People with the Istj personality type, logicians, mean what they say and say what they mean, and when they commit to doing something, they make sure to follow through. With their responsible and dependable nature, it might not be so surprising that Istj personalities also tend to have a deep respect for structure and tradition. They are often drawn to organizations, workplaces, and educational settings that offer clear hierarchies and expectations. While Istjs may not be particularly flashy or attention-seeking, they do more than their share of keeping society on a sturdy, stable foundation. In their families and their communities, people with this personality type often earn respect for their reliability, their practicality, and their ability to stay grounded and logical in even the most stressful situations. True to their methodical nature, Istjs often steer clear of impulsive behaviors, instead favoring careful deliberation when it comes to decision-making of any kind. A life of integrity. People with the Istj personality type believe that there is a right way to proceed in any situation, and that anyone who pretends otherwise is probably trying to bend the rules to suit their own desires. Consequently, they rarely hesitate to take responsibility for their actions and choices. They are quick to own up to their mistakes, admitting to the truth even if it doesn't make them look good or if it makes other people uncomfortable. To Istj personalities, honesty and straightforward communication are far more important than showmanship. They'd rather satisfy their own conscience than lie to impress someone else. In a world where many people shirk their responsibilities or say what they think others want to hear, Istjs stand out as dedicated, responsible, and honest. Istj personalities are also known for striving to meet their obligations no matter what, and they are often baffled by people who fail to hold themselves to the same standard. They can sometimes unfairly misjudge people who don't match their rigorous self-control, suspecting that someone is being lazy or dishonest when that person might actually be coping with other challenges. While this can sometimes make Istj personalities appear rigid or unempathetic, their judgment often stems from their unwavering commitment to reliability and structure. Picking up the slack. Istj's dedication is an admirable quality, and it drives many of their accomplishments. But it can also become a weakness that other people take advantage of. With their strong work ethic and sense of duty, they may routinely find themselves shouldering other people's responsibilities. Even if they don't complain about the situation, Istj personalities can end up exhausted or discouraged if they're constantly expected, or take it upon themselves, to pick up the slack for their colleagues, friends, or loved ones. Istjs may often find themselves doing others' work and not getting credit for it. Istj personalities aren't known for expressing their emotions readily, but that doesn't mean that they don't feel frustration or resentment when they're pulling more than their weight. And unless they make sure that their relationships are balanced and sustainable, they may end up compromising the very stability that they feel called to protect. The good news is that by learning to set appropriate boundaries and speak up when they're overstretched, people with the Istj personality type can offer the world the full benefit of their many gifts, including their clarity, their loyalty, and their dependability. Moving on to strengths and weaknesses. Strengths and weaknesses. Istj weaknesses. Stubborn. The facts are the facts, and people with the ISTJ personality type tend to resist any new idea that isn't supported by those facts. This factual decision-making process makes it difficult for them to accept that they were wrong about something. But anyone can miss a detail, even ISTJs. Insensitive. While not intentionally harsh, ISTJs often hurt more sensitive types' feelings by the simple mantra that honesty is the best policy. These personalities may take emotions into consideration, but really only so far as to determine the most effective way to say what needs to be said. Always by the book, ISTJs believe that things work best with clearly defined rules, but this makes them reluctant to bend those rules to try new things, even when the downside is minimal. Truly unstructured environments tend to leave these personalities stressed and dissatisfied. Judgmental. Because ISTJs tend to highly value facts and empirical evidence, they are unlikely to respect people who disagree with proven information, especially those who remain willfully ignorant. When others disregard concrete evidence and instead rely on assumption or emotions, ISTJs can become judgmental, viewing these individuals as irrational or misguided. I want you all to know this is an aside. It is 12:06 a.m., but like midnight. There are some birds outside that have blessed us with their presence. We are going to continue on and let them do their thing. Okay? Okay. There are also frogs. You can hear them, I'm sure. They're just hanging out, prone to burnout. All this can combine to make people with the ISTJ personality type believe that they are the only ones who can see projects through reliably. As they load themselves with extra work and responsibilities, turning away good intentions and helpful ideas, they sooner or later hit a tipping point where they simply can't deliver. Since they've heaped the responsibility on themselves, ISTJs made them believe that the responsibility for failure is their own. ISTJs made them believe that the responsibility for failure is theirs alone to bear. ISTJ strengths. Honest and direct. Integrity is at the heart of people with the ISTJ personality type, logicians. Emotional manipulation, mind games, and lies of any kind all run counter to their preference for managing the reality of the situations that they encounter with plain and simple honesty. Disciplined. ISTJs embody integrity through both their words and their actions. Patient and determined. People with this personality type meet their obligations and keep their promises, period. They value structure, follow rules strictly, and respect authority, showcasing their strong will and dutiful nature. Very responsible. ISTJs would rather power through and lose sleep than fail to deliver the results that they said they would. Loyal and reliable. They almost always fulfill their duties to the people and organizations that they've committed themselves to. And they do so on time and with strict adherence to whatever guidelines are set in place. Calm and practical. None of their promises would mean much if ISTJ personalities lost their tempers and broke down at every sign of hardship. They tend to keep their feet on the ground and make clear, rational decisions. Other people's preferences might be into consideration in the process, but ultimately their decisions are made with practicality in mind. Organized and effective. The primary goal of any ISTJ personality type is to be effective in what they've chosen to do and they believe that this is accomplished best when everyone involved knows exactly what is going on and why. Clear rules and regulation help people with this personality type maintain order and work in a productive manner. Research-oriented. ISTJs are proud repositories of knowledge, with an emphasis on procedures and techniques that enable reliable outcomes. This allows ISTJ personalities to apply themselves to a variety of situations with success, picking up and applying new data as needed to maintain functionality. Okay, moving on to romantic relationships. Romantic relationships. People with the ISTJ personality type, logicians, are dependable through and through, and this trait is clearly expressed when it comes to their romantic relationships. As creatures of habit, ISTJs tend to deeply respect the traditions that they were brought up with, and they hope to share their culture and their values with a partner who is open to exploring them together. While their reserved and structured nature can make dating ISTJs challenging, people with this personality type are truly dedicated partners, willing to devote heaps of thought and energy to ensure stable and mutually satisfying relationships. Deeply committed. Blind dates and random hookups are not the preferred methods that ISTJ personalities use for finding potential partners. The risk and unpredictability of these situations has their alarm bells ringing, and being dragged out for a night of dancing at the club isn't going to happen without some serious reservations. ISTJs much prefer more responsible, conservative methods of dating, such as dinner with an interested coworker or, in their more adventurous moods, a setup organized through a mutual friend. Their ideal dates will almost always include something that is familiar to these personalities, like going out to eat at their favorite restaurant. Anything outside of what is expected can cause ISTJs to feel stressed or uncomfortable, two things that don't tend to nurture romance. People with the ISTJ personality type approach relationships, as with most things, from a rational perspective, looking for compatibility and the mutual satisfaction of daily and long-term needs. This isn't a process that they take lightly, and once commitments are established, they stick to their promises to the very end. ISTJ personalities establish foundations, fulfill their responsibilities, and keep their relationships functional and stable. As their relationships transition into the long term, ISTJs gladly see to the necessary daily tasks around the house, applying the same sense of duty to their home life that they do in the workplace. However, emotional satisfaction can be another matter. While ISTJs are able to provide surprisingly good emotional support, this only happens when they realize that it's necessary. People with this personality type are not naturally receptive to others' emotions, not unless they are stated clearly, and a partner usually only says, "I'm angry," when it's too late to address the initial grievance. A reliable heart. ISTJ personalities can get so caught up in believing in their own correctness, in winning arguments that they thought were about facts, that they don't realize that their partner may have viewed things from a perspective of consideration and sensitivity. Especially with more sensitive partners, this can be a huge challenge for their relationships. Ultimately, though, ISTJ's sense of responsibility and dedication set the tone, and they spare no effort in noting this distinction moving forward. While their staid approach may seem boring to some, there is an undeniable attractiveness to it. People with the ISTJ personality type embody a strong and quiet determination and reliability. traits that are rare among other personality types that can benefit even the flightiest types, allowing them to stay connected to the real world while still exploring new territory. Okay, moving on to friendships. Friendships. People with the ISTJ personality type, logicians, are not spontaneous in their friendships. They are not talkative or particularly playful in their affection. What ISTJ friends are is loyal, trustworthy, honorable, and dependable. Others may come and go with the ups and downs of life, but ISTJ personalities stay by their friend's side no matter what, with deepness of commitment that other types may not even believe is possible. Navigating friendships, ISTJs display a sense of dedication, loyalty, and trustworthiness that make them reliable companions. The gift of loyalty. ISTJs are very methodical personality types, so their loyalty isn't given away lightly. Often slow to make friends, these personalities usually end up with smaller circles. But they promise to show up for the people in their circle, and their promises are never easily broken. Expressing emotional affection isn't one of ISTJ personality's strongest skills, but they nevertheless find ways to show it. As Socrates said, to be is to do, and ISTJs follow through. Their willingness to take action as a show of support stands in for their words. ISTJ's actions convey a sensitivity that many fail to see, but it is a quality that their friends come to admire and depend on in the long years of their friendships. But all of this sounds terribly somber, and indeed it only shows one side of this nuanced personality type in their approach to their friendships. The other side knows how to stop being quite so serious, and especially in the company of joyful and talkative friends, ISTJ personalities enjoy relaxing and having fun with a good discussion about work, life, and current events. People with this personality type don't like conflict, and this applies to how they select their friends as well. Seeking out friends with similar principles and opinions, ISTJs most often befriend people who are likely to share their perspectives and world vision, while they are unlikely to become friends with substantially different personalities. It simply takes too much energy to bridge the communication gap. ISTJs still recognize and appreciate others' strengths and qualities better together. In fact, as if to prove the point, ISTJs do sometimes become friends with people who are more spontaneous and imaginative. These are very much relationships built not on mutual understanding, but out of respect for their mutual differences. ISTJ personalities will happily marvel at other people's breadth of thought, being very much in tune with their own intelligence, while they themselves are regularly admired for their realism and dependability, something that others are often hard-pressed to find. Knowledge, as always, is a great equalizer. Okay, moving on to parenthood. Parenthood. People with the ISTJ personality type, logicians, are often very comfortable taking on the role of being a parent and the responsibilities that come with it. ISTJ personality's sense of discipline and honor blend well with a tradition that has been in place since time immemorial, to raise one's children to be respected, contributing members of the home and society at large. As with most commitments, these personalities do not take being a parent lightly, and will make their work to ensure that this tradition is upheld to the highest standard. This doesn't always come easy for their children, though, as ISTJs tend to be strict with high standards and expectations. These parents establish stable, clearly structured environments for their children, always with an eye on helping them to develop a sense of place in society to fulfill useful roles. ISTJs are first to admit that their parenting style is definitely stricter and more structured than most other parents. They set out to ensure that their kids have an appropriate respect for authority. All this loyalty, devotion, and structure can fall short, though, when ISTJ's children need the warmth of emotional support. While people with this personality type can be sensitive in their own way toward those they care about, it's hard for children to recognize this tough love for the love that it is. Often these personalities need to work on developing more empathy and understanding as their children grow and evolve through the different stages of their lives. Specifically, ISTJs might try to strike a better balance between rational propose and the more ethereal sense of emotional well-being. Leading by principle. ISTJ parents are strongly principled, valuing patience and hard work, qualities that children often struggle with. Nevertheless, their children are expected to meet these standards and share these values for their own good. This approach often bears its fruit in the long run, but people with this personality type must keep in mind that their approach creates natural barriers and distance that often leaves their children wondering if they're on the same team. Taken too far or with mutual stubbornness, this may even set in as a permanent state in their relationship, something that both ISTJ parents and their children ultimately regret. It is best for them to embrace and hold to their own values, while also recognizing that each person has their own goals, and to meet their children halfway in attaining theirs. Combining their natural devotion and propose with this flexibility in support of their children's own vision leads to a sense of mutual respect and accomplishment that ISTJ parents would be proud of. Moving on to career paths. Career paths. While many personalities may be comfortable with flexible work as consultants and sole proprietors, people with the ISTJ personality type, logisticians, are much more focused on building long-term, stable careers. That's not to say that ISTJs can't do that sort of work. Many find themselves thinking about what's on the other side of those cubicle walls. But what they crave is dependability, and that is reflected in their choice of work perhaps more so than any other part of their lives. A steadfast mind. The facts support this, as most ISTJ careers revolve around institutions of respected tradition, authority, security, and established consistency. Careers as military officers, lawyers, judges, police officers, and detectives are all very popular among ISTJs. This makes sense, as they not only offer the stability that these personalities seek, but are in line with their principles and their desires to be honorable in all that they do. ISTJs, of course, aren't limited to these organizations. There are many other roles that utilize their reliability, objectivity, sharp eyes, and ability to maintain razor-sharp focus for long periods of time. When facts and logic are out of place, ISTJ personalities swoop in as the accountants, auditors, data analysts, financial managers, business administrators, and doctors that identify, report, and correct the issues at hand. Most of these careers have ISTJs working alone, which is usually their preference. But when teams are necessary, they are best defined by clearly outlined roles, responsibilities, and work environments. In fact, This personality type is the most likely to work best when they have specific instructions on how to complete a task. Nothing is quite so challenging for ISTJ personalities as ongoing debates about who is responsible for what, resulting in work that's shoddily assembled or worse, incomplete. ISTJs have strong opinions about how things should be done, and if things are shuffled around too often, people with this personality type can become surprisingly vocal about their opposition. It's important for them to remember that even the most traditional and stable career paths can and need to change as time goes by. It is much better to accept this with grace than to develop reputations as being enemies of new ideas. The backbone of society. People with this personality type may also struggle with the increasingly open and social requirements of modern work life, often being somewhat unpracticed at sensing others' feelings. ISTJ's just the facts attitude can be downright alienating when it comes to more sensitive personality types. This applies not just to coworkers but to customers as well. Service positions like retail sales and waiting tables, as well as more emotionally demanding careers such as psychiatry are, generally speaking, a more challenging fit. The rest career paths for ISTJ personalities tend to feature a trend. They place facts above feelings and allow ISTJs to uphold the hard standards that are the backbone of society. Rules are the basis for everything that people take for granted about modern life. From the social contract that smooths relationships to the laws that protect people's most basic safety, to the Constitution and treaties that govern nations. People with this personality type take on roles as the defenders of these ideas, in big ways and small, and are rightfully proud of it. Moving on to workplace habits. Workplace habits. When it comes to the workplace, people with the ISTJ personality type, logicians, are almost a stereotype for the classic hardworking, dutiful employee. In all positions, ISTJ personalities seek structure, clearly defined rules, and respect for authority and hierarchy. Responsibilities aren't burdens to them, rather they are a sense of trust that has been placed in them, an opportunity to prove once again that they are the right person for the job. On the other hand, the change that comes with assuming those new responsibilities or in losing old ones is often a significant struggle for ISTJ personalities. This presents itself differently in different positions of authority, but it is one of their most significant challenges to overcome. Insensitivity is an ISTJ weakness as well, and it is something that people with this personality type might benefit from working on, as interpersonal skills tend to be a pivotal component of both personal and professional development. ISTJ subordinates. ISTJs crave responsibility, which makes them the go-to subordinates for challenging tasks and unpopular projects. Often recognized for their impressive focus and attention to detail, these personalities can competently tackle any project that comes with a manual. On the other hand, this can make them reluctant to give up responsibilities, even when they are overburdened or when there might be a better person for the job. The seriousness in ISTJ's approach to their work can make them surprisingly sensitive to criticism, leading to a sometimes vexing level of inflexibility. Their stubbornness aside, or perhaps because of it, people with the ISTJ personality type are quite possibly among the most productive of subordinates. They respect authority and hierarchy and have no problem following orders and instructions. Punctuality is unlikely to ever be an issue, both in terms of showing up to work on time and in terms of meeting project deadlines. While ISTJs may need clearly set steps and well-defined responsibilities, they are exceptionally loyal, dedicated, meticulous, and patient in completing their work. ISTJ colleagues. Among colleagues, no one can be trusted more to ensure that projects are finished on time and by the book than ISTJ personalities. Quiet and methodical, they keep cool when the going gets tough, an approach that they generally expect their colleagues to share. Significantly different personality types, especially more emotional ones, baffle ISTJs with their need for emotional support and openness, or their capacity for delivering something that appears to be half finished. To ISTJ personalities, either something's been done right or it's been done wrong, and sugarcoating it or walking away isn't going to fix it. ISTJs value peace and security in the workplace, and the easiest way for this to happen is for them to simply work alone. Innovations, brainstorming, theories, and new ideas all disrupt this comfortable state, and it takes a great deal of respect on ISTJ's part to acknowledge their validity. Once the details have been laid out and a plan of implementation established, people with this personality type are an indispensable part of the team in putting these ideas into practice. ISTJ personalities would almost always prefer to eliminate any and all distractions while they are working, as they find uninterrupted work to be more enjoyable. ISTJ managers. ISTJs love responsibility and the power resulting from it. Pressing themselves hard to meet their obligations, people with this personality type regularly go above and beyond their duties, and they expect their subordinates to act with the same level of dedication. At the same time, ISTJs' preferences for doing things by the book, adherence to hierarchy, and general aversion to innovation makes their subordinates ride a very thin line when they do. Stepping out of bounds must be backed up with solid facts and outstanding results. It is said that it is better to do first and ask permission later, but it's difficult to say whether this applies to ISTJs, as they are very intolerant of their subordinates' failures to meet their obligations. One of those obligations being sticking to the original plan. Believing that truth, at least as far as they see it, is more important than sensitivity, ISTJ personalities are capable of laying down hard criticism, and their willingness to make tough decisions can make perceived subordination the final trespass. So, the video got cut off at the very last, literally the last word that I was speaking, which was kind of nice, but then I also realized I didn't do the outro that I do for all the other ones, so this is what this is. I will begin now. So that was ISTJ, the Logistician.